back with another Splinterlands video. So another jam-packed town hall for Splinterlands today, and as a part of that, they released 5 Riftwatchers cards. Now you have to remember that these cards still need to go through some QA testing, and we could potentially see some of these get nerfed or buffed. So this is just where they're currently at. They probably won't stray too far from here if they get changed at all. I actually think one of these cards will end up getting nerfed. We'll talk about that when we get there. But just remember that these could end up being slightly different after some testing. Nothing's finalized until Riftwatchers is released. Okay, so we're going to get through the 5. But before we do, just a reminder, I am Hawks21. I cover Splinterlands every single day here on YouTube. I am also on Twitter and recently launched a Discord. So if you're looking to get sort of immediate contact with me, feel free to join the Discord, ask any questions you have. I'm pretty responsive in there. And also, if you enjoy this content, it would be great if you could like and subscribe here. The YouTube's growing slowly and steadily, and it's just been a really awesome time sort of building this out with you guys. Okay. So we're going to start here. There's going to be no real order. I haven't thought about ranking these or anything. I know I just ranked the epic summoners, so I don't want to really do another formal rank again. Plus I know that these could change. So there's just a lot of moving parts. So I just wanted to sort of talk about them because honestly the 5 cards are super fun cards. And one thing to notice is you're going to see a lot of abilities, a lot of big attack numbers, a lot of high mana numbers. These are all common and rare cards. So we know all of the epics launched in Riftwatchers are going to be the summoners, but there's some legendaries that they haven't revealed to us yet. Even outside of the airdrops, there's going to be some legendaries just in the packs. And I cannot wait to see what the legendaries look like based on what these rares and commons look like. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to start with the Sude Shaman. Again, there's no order, only because I tweeted out they released 5 of them. On Twitter, you can only include 4 pictures, so I tweeted out 4 of them, and the Shaman was the one left out. But let's talk about the Shaman. So at the lower levels, obviously synergizes with Obsidian with the 3 magic, but the solo recharge ability just isn't that interesting to me. I haven't really played in the lower levels that recently, but I know there's not tons of mana available, so getting this up to 3 magic here for 8 mana every other turn, hitting 9, I just don't see it being that useful. But as we go on, it starts to get a little more interesting. So it picks up Giant Killer, which makes this card crazy, right? Because let's even just say without Obsidian, you're talking 2 times 3 is 6, double that is 12. Then we talk about with Obsidian, 3 is 9, double that is 18 with Giant Killer. So now it starts to have some use cases for me. And there's going to be one card. We're going to circle back to this card when we talk about one of the other cards. So just keep that in mind. But I don't love this card. I don't really like this card in particular. I don't see myself using it very often. But I want it in my deck. I want it in my back pocket. Just because if your opponent is playing sort of Kitty plus Robo Dragon Knight or something, which even though Robo Dragon Knight has Void, you'd still be talking about what would it be? It would be 3, 9, and then it would just counteract 9 damage. You'd still be doing 9 damage to the Robo Dragon Knight. You add an Obsidian, and then all of a sudden you're at the top levels, right? You're talking 4 times 3 is 12, double that. You could potentially be doing 24 damage to a giant. So that's going to wipe out. I mean, I'd be shocked if they put out a monster who could get higher than 24 damage, 24 hit points. But then you're talking 12 damage to Robo Dragon Knight, and you can even take out a Robo Dragon Knight in one turn. So tossing this in your back line when you're pretty sure Giant's in the front, it would be a nice thing to have in your back pocket. Again, if you think you can't sort of match up with them and you need to go this route, it's certainly an interesting tactic. So it's a card I'm going to want to have and want to have access to, but I don't think I'm going to play it that often. It does get Rust, which is one of my favorite abilities. I just love, right now everyone uses Shield, specifically because Grandmaster Wraith was recently released, so there's been a lot of sort of Shield plays, so anything with Rust I love. But still, I don't see this being sort of like a staple, but it's a card I definitely want, and I want access to for very specific situations, because in those situations it's going to be super powerful. All right, now we're going to head over to my Twitter, where I tweeted about these. Again, I don't really have an order. We'll start here with the Water Collar. So this is another, stun coming to Bronze and Novice in the lower leagues. In Silver, it even picks up a second magic with the stun. Reminds me of a Revealer, obviously, like a little less good Revealer. A Revealer is an epic card. This is a rare card, so that's not super, super surprising. But I really like this card. Again, just having the stun at lower levels is going to help the lower levels. This is only the second card in Modern that has that. And then as you move up, it's getting another Reflection Shield option to Water. So now you have Tidebiter, Water Collar, and then the Venator. So you could fill up a lineup now when you're expecting a Jotun play or something, where it's almost impossible to get blast damage anywhere. So I'm intrigued by this card. Getting the 3 magic damage is certainly helpful. Would be a little better in reverse speed rule sets, which right now is tricky for me with Water, because my Water Summoner is Kelia, and then my 2 Dragon Summoners alter speed. So Kitty +2 and Quicks -1. But once we get the Backfire monster, or Backfire Summoner for Water Aquatis, we also don't know what the Summoner for the Chaos Legion airdrop is for Water, so that's another factor. We don't know how that's going to play in. But I would love to have something that didn't alter speed, so I'd have some reverse speed rule sets options with Water, and I think she would be a really good play for that. Again, I think it's a niche card you can fit into your lineups at the higher levels, and I think the stun becomes really valuable at lower levels, just because it doesn't really exist down there. So good card. I definitely want to own this. Again, I don't think it's game breaking or anything, but this is going to be a very, very solid card. Next, let's go here. So before I forget, so the Nightghoul. This card is, I don't know how else to describe it other than sort of just like hilarious to me. So picture this, right? Let's go to gold, right, where it gets the force field. You have a Nightghoul versus Nightghoul matchup. They will both just be doing 1 damage to each other the entire time, because they'll both have the force field. They both have the enrage. Getting this enrage at level 1 is going to be a very fun card to use at lower levels. It's going to be very difficult to play them, again, because of the 11 mana, and I know the lower leagues don't have a ton of mana to work with. But I do wonder if they're going to increase that as they drop these, usable high mana cards at the lower leagues into the game. I am curious if they're going to sort of expand the mana options for the lower leagues, but that's a conversation for a different day. This card is fun. Between the enrage, right? So it's going to be getting up at the highest levels to 9 damage with 6 speed. That's incredible, right? And then the force field makes it really difficult to get rid of. it has some synergies with Thaddeus in that, you know, a persistent magic attack would do well against the Nightghoul. But Thaddeus obviously reduces magic. And then if you could bring another silence or something, right, you would just really need to, or maybe you have Mimosa, right? Like this plus Mimosa, giving it Void would be awesome. This card's going to be really fun. I'm excited to use this card. It's just a big tank. It's going to do a ton of damage. And then we haven't, you know, the big tank with Force Field, I think is interesting. It's going to be doling out a ton of damage, but it can't take big hits back. So you're going to have to be pretty thoughtful if you're expecting a Nightghoul about how to get through it. Specifically because you're probably going to see the Nightghoul more in high mana matches, right? And in high mana matches, you're normally expecting more damage. So if you get a 99 and you're expecting a Nightghoul and you put out a bunch of monsters that hit for over 5, you're going to have a really difficult time getting through them. So this is where we're going to actually circle back to the Shaman for a little bit. So again, he's a giant. So let's say you're expecting the Nightghoul. This would be a perfect time to unleash the Shaman. Because for those of you who don't know, Force Field works on the base attack before any multiplier. So when Force Field is looking to trigger, it takes this damage right here, plus any buffs. So even at the highest levels, this plus Obsidian would be doing 4 magic. The recharge would multiply that by 3. The giant killer would then multiply that by 2. So now you're talking 12, 24. This would hit this card for 24 damage. Because in that case of this plus Obsidian, the original base damage is below 5. And that's what's important. What is the base damage? So this would wipe out this card in one shot. Right, I think this card's going to be really difficult to get through. But if you have this card in your back pocket, you just got to wait till the second turn, and then you'll be good. It'll be a one-shot, at least above this level, above in silver actually, yeah. In silver with Obsidian, this then becomes a one-shot. So this is the exact reason I was talking about, where I want this card in my back pocket. I want to have access to it, but it's not a card I'm going to play with a ton of frequency. But back to the Nightghoul, it's just going to be a really fun card. This card in particular got me excited for the other cards that are going to be in Riftwatchers, because this is a common. This is an 11 mana, 6 attack, 4 speed, 6 shield, 11 health, with enrage and force field, common monster. Does it have me a little worried about power creep? Potentially. But as someone who's going to go heavy into Riftwatchers, I'm pretty excited about it. So this is going to be a card I definitely want, and I think it's going to be very useful. So now I know I said there's no real order, but these two are my favorite. And this one, the Tinderlock, I actually think gets nerfed. We're going to save that for last. Corsair Bosun. This card, to me, is basically exactly what the Life Splinter needed. It doesn't have a ton of high damage support monsters, right? So part of the problem with the Shield Bearer play was that sometimes you struggle to get enough damage out. And so even though it takes a really, really long time to get through the Shield Bearer, there are times where you don't actually have enough damage to get through your opponent, and they can slowly whittle away. So getting a card that provides support, because a lot of the support cards in Life don't do a ton of damage, but their sole responsibility is to keep the Shield Bearer alive. But now you have someone who does a little bit of both, because the Corsair has the cleanse, right? So you don't need to worry about poison or affliction. It'll cleanse that away. Also has reflection shield. So the Shield Bearer is going to be, obviously in the front. This is a reach monster, so you would have this in a second position. And you don't have to worry about blast damage. You can toss this up there, and normally right now, you have to play the Venator if you're worried about blast damage, which is only the 2 mana. And doesn't really bring much else in terms of attack from the table. It's kind of a waste when you're dealing with, a 60 mana match. But now you can bring this big reach monster that's also going to do 6 damage, cleanse the shield bearer, or, even think about it with Uriel, who has the heal. In a mega mana match, this can be doing 6 damage from the reach position behind Uriel while also cleansing Uriel. So I think this card fits in with the Life Splinter so perfectly. Haven't even mentioned Grandmaster Wraith, right? Who's going to make all of the shield that he has completely voided. So I'm very excited for this card. And I think even before it gets the cleanse, I think at every single level, it's a very viable card. Bronze here, I mean, you probably don't need to get it to level 2 for the extra health, but being able to put it in the second position with the reflection shield. Again, I understand the mana count. I'm kind of assuming at some point they increase the bronze mana count when I talk about these things. So getting this level 1 from a reach monster that does 4 damage is incredible. Gets the 5th attack. Then in gold, it picks up that cleanse, and then eventually gets to the 6 damage. So this is a really awesome card. I'm excited to have this card. I'm going to use this card a ton. The other thing that's crazy is, again, it's a rare. So those lost legendaries, or the commons and rares only matches, Shield Bearer plus this, because the Shield Bearer is also a rare, is going to be a playable combination. Now you need to be a little nervous about Giant Killer. Obviously, doesn't have a ton of good, doesn't really have any defensive attributes. It's best, it has the shield and it'll get voided with Grandmaster Wraith. And, its best defense, honestly, is being a reach monster, which can't really be targeted until it moves up to the first position, which is good. But there are definitely some downsides to playing this card. But I love this card. This is probably my second favorite card, and I don't think this gets nerfed. I think this is very well balanced and just a really good card. So very excited for this one. And then finally, the one a lot of people are talking about is the Tinderlock. And I think this ultimately gets nerfed. We've seen it before, right? They nerfed the Countess Sanash. And I think Tinderlock is setting up for a similar fate. And I'm going to explain why. So let's just take it from the top. Last Stand monster that actually does some damage in the lower leagues is awesome, right? You can play this in 10 mana, 11 mana, because it has the close range. You could set up a play in the lower leagues just playing Tinderlock. I actually think you can do that at the higher leagues too. I'll get into that. But I think this is going to be a very usable card, even if they don't expand the mana cap, because you can set up some lineups where it's basically only Tinderlock and you're just playing this Last Stand. Because even here, right, it's going to do 5 damage, get up to 6 speed. This is before any boosts too, and 12 health. So it's a really hard monster to get through, because it'll probably dodge some if you're not going up against magic, and then 5 damage is great. It's obviously susceptible a little bit to magic, but it solves that a little bit by getting the silence. So I think that's huge. The attack sort of stays flat across the board, but something really interesting happens, which I think makes this card a little OP in a sense. It makes it OP when you combine it with one of the new upcoming summoners, but it gets Death Blow, which normally I think is useless, right? I don't really plan my matches around Death Blow, mainly because, a lot of times in the matches, they don't come down to 1v1s, right? Like one side sort of takes care of the other side in pretty succinct fashion. So Death Blow doesn't come into play. And so it's kind of a waste of an ability. Because if you're doing Death Blow and you're up 4 monsters to 1 and you're going to win anyways, it doesn't really matter. And on the flip side, he doesn't get to use a death blow if you lose all your monsters and the other opponent has 4 left. So it doesn't really help you, and usually when it does help you, you're already about to win. But this is a little different in this case. So let's walk through some scenarios here. First, with Yasik. Alright? Remember, Yasik gives piercing. So he has the high health, and he'll benefit from the scatter shot, which is great. And Yasik versus Yasik, right? Again, high health, he can soak up some damage. And he's fast, so he's going to have 7 speed with Yasik. So he could potentially dodge some ranged scatter shots in the back. But when he slides to the front, that's when he gets insane. So we're talking 4 damage, 7 speed with Yasik. So that becomes 6 archery, 11 speed. So he's going to become almost impossible to hit. 11 speed, and then 17 health, I believe. Not only that, that's 6 if it's a one-on-one or a low mana. Think about this, 17 mana match, right? This becomes 6. I play Yasik, and, or wait, it could be 16, right? Because Yasik's going to be a 6 mana summoner, I'm pretty sure. But 16, I play Yasik plus Tinderlock. 6 damage with the death blow becomes 12 with piercing. So it's going to be doing 12 piercing damage with 11 speed in those low mana ones. I think that is absolutely nuts. This also incentivized me to keep my Kid Yuff. I was pretty sure I was going to keep my Kid Yuff, but I was thinking maybe with Scargore, I would be willing to, run her and get rid of the kid. But now, Kid Yuff is 3 mana. For the 13 mana matches, I can bring out Piercing with Tinderlock again. Won't have the speed boost, but you're still talking 6 with the Last Stand, 12 with Death Blow with Piercing, and then 8 speed with 17 health. That's ridiculous. I could even run this with Kitty, right? So it'd be 12 damage. You wouldn't have the piercing, which could be a problem, right? Because then you could get them playing if they predict it, you get them playing a monster with shield and a repair, and you can't get through it. And there's no cleanse, and it can't dodge magic, right? So there would be some problems there. But in terms of healing, right? 17, so it could heal for 5 with the kitty and would have 11 speed, so difficult to hit. That's an option. You could even give it phase with the new dragon summoner. So it goes in a Last Stand, picks up 8 speed, and then you give it phase, so it becomes even more difficult to hit. Like, you can't target it with magic. I just think there's a lot of possibilities to this card, and there's just too many, I think, OP options, right? And we haven't even mentioned Jotun, right? We haven't mentioned Jotun. Giving this 5 at the highest levels, and then all of a sudden it turns into 8 with Jotun. So it's going to be doing 8 with 5 blast damage when it gets to the front and Last Stand. It's nuts. So I think this card gets nerfed. I don't know how. Potentially what I think they might do is maybe see, here's the problem. I would say get rid of Death Blow, because I think that's what makes it crazy with the piercing here at the end. But I think they want to find use cases for Death Blow. They want to get people using Death Blow. So maybe this is just the way that they do it. They're going to make an OP card that's a rare, right? I think this should be a legendary card. Maybe that's another thing they could do. Maybe they could turn this into a legendary. So there's less of them. But yeah, so I just think this card's insane. The synergies with both Yasik and Kid Yuff are going to be crazy. It's a must-have card if it stays like this. I'm going to want to probably max this out on almost the first day. I try not to buy into the hype, but this card's going to be nuts. Okay, so there you have it. I'm sure they'll release more and more cards as we go. It's really great getting these teasers, and as they do, I will cover them. I'm excited to see how the meta changes. All these cards were super, super, super fun and meaningful cards. And I can't wait to see what Riftwatchers has in store for us. Okay, once again, I am Hawks21 and I cover Splinterlands. If you enjoyed this content, it would be awesome if you can like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know which one is your favorite card. Do you think any of them are bad? Any of these OP? Do you agree that Tinderlock needs to be nerfed? Do you think any of the other ones need to be nerfed? Let me know. I love hearing from you guys. It helps me get smarter and learn more about the game. Okay. Hope you're having a great day. I will talk to you soon.